Well, I can't give you an exact, here's what happened. It came up, it was further off to the west, up towards the top of where the towers are up there at Buckhorn. It came east on the north end and then turned back. And I can tell you this, when I came through this morning, I did get a short jaunt. I made it up to Station 1, just past Station 1 in Riss Canyon. What I saw of active fire, it had come down and it was between about mile marker 6.5 and the Whale Rock. Now, I understand when I saw this, and y'all saw some of these things, there's some areas you had trees going, a lot of areas you had some grass kind of creeping through. I know there's a good effort at structure protection, and as the chief mentioned, all we know so far on that east side was one structure that was impacted. So what you have is a loop there, and now they're getting those crews up in there this morning. Unfortunately, we took off after the briefing so we could get out here and share with what we know. We don't know what they found and what they're doing, but I can tell you it's not got up into, I didn't see signs of it in Whale Rock. I didn't see signs of it in Davis Ranch, at least coming from the north and east. However, I don't know how it's come down the other side from Buckhorn up there. And let me also add in one of the great concerns for us, as you all know, those communication sites are up there in Buckhorn. My understanding, it burned up to there. The road stopped most of it. The only site that was impacted was not a public safety site up there. It burned up a shed and somebody's tower up there. But we're worried that the fire can come back and get back up there. So they're going to put some crews up, try to bring some of that timber down so we don't end up losing emergency communications up there. And obviously there's some propane tanks. We did lose power up there, so we're running on emergency power. Our radio tech and the state radio tech have been up to make sure we can keep those things, because if that stuff goes down, our ability to work with firefighters, take the tanks pretty quickly. Yes, ma'am.
Speak a little bit about the behavior that you expect in the southeast part. We talked a lot about the first few hours. About 9 o'clock this morning, we were back there. There's about 12 deputies on the road crossing the high.
Okay, yeah, you guys are just northwest of Horsetooth?
No, right outside of Masonville, between Redstone and Buckhorn.
Okay, and then, I'm sorry. Yeah,
Down the back.
okay, yeah, and that's the thing. It pushed down, as that pushed south last night, we made the decision to the evacuation, everything out of Redstone Canyon. And then also, I forget the name, the subdivision northwest of Horsetooth Reservoir, we got people out of there. Do you know more on that, Tom?
Yeah, we did Mill Canyon Estates and Buckskin Heights, you guys are in Loveland Fire Protection District, and that was that same deal with that, as with Redstone. There was so much smoke line down there, but we do anticipate there is a great propensity for fire to push that way with the winds that we're having up on the fire right now. It may not be howling here, but all the forecasts are fire's going to be howling on that, so it's pushing right that way. Crystal Fire Part 2. The scars of Crystal Fire probably aren't to our advantage in this case. I've asked our fire behavior analyst. Kelly said that it's probably not to our advantage. The scars of the Hewlett Fire are working well on the north. We know that, however, we've got those structures right down at the bottom of the canyon that were protected, that were saved before, that we still have to focus on.
What are the potential for spot fires?
It's spotting like crazy. We had spots yesterday that were half a mile out in front of the head of the fire. And I did the same thing all night. At 6 a.m. this morning, our two task force leaders saw 100-foot flame lengths at 6 a.m. That is unheard of in front range fires. Usually front range fires lay down at night, but as we saw with Picnic Rock, as we saw with Crystal, as we saw with Hewlett, I think we're changing the paradigm. We had extreme fire behavior at night, even when the humidities came up around 40%. This fire has been backing downhill against the wind. What that means is the fuels are so dry that it's easily burned. It can burn against the wind and can burn downhill. The fuel moistures are lower. Fuel moistures in live vegetation, we measure that as well. The fuel moistures in live vegetation is low. It's 3 weeks ahead of where it was during the Hayman fire. That's how severe this drought is and how severe the conditions are. So that's why it's burning readily.
Were any structures affected in Cooter Park?
Yes, Hooter Park, we were told, and this is my secondhand report, from Poudre Canyon fire was they believe 8 structures were affected. At this point, I believe Poudre Canyon is checking that area. I know Risk Canyon was going up to Stratton Park. You know, we saw one heck of a glow up there last night, just nobody was in there. So definitely Poudre Park was impacted. Certainly, you know, a lot of structures there, but they're saying they think 8 were hit there. Yes, sir.
You know, from approximately from Masonville, how far you be able to go up County Road 27?
The question was how far up County Road 27? Last I knew our roadblock set just south of 44H, and that pullout, they may have moved it back up to 44H. And part of that is we saw last night, well, that was on the south end. They had, I would say I was told they had a pretty good heel on that fire when it started, but when those winds came in last night and blew hard to the south, that changed things. Neither Tom nor I has been up to see where that's at now. I don't have indications it moved south of there. It was more the stuff that went up into Buckhorn and then I think turned back south because the other had already burned up. Ma'am?
I'm wondering about the fire in the Narrows area of County Road 27, probably about 50 miles south of where
I don't know of anything down in that area. I think it's, yeah, I believe it's all north of there. Is that what you understand too, Tom? Do you have anything different? Yeah, everything seemed to be north of there. Is it moved forward? That's kind of in the black now. Yeah, I have no indications it went down there. I'm gonna take 3 more questions before we need to get back up to the fire. Ma'am?
As far as notifications of your home, if you confirm it, then you will call a phone number?
What, the thing we ask you is if you'll register with Red Cross Bell information. First thing we're going to do is we're going to try to figure out where those structures are. As you know, sometimes getting addresses on those after a fire is difficult. We got people trying to, and once we start getting out to those and hear back from the fire districts, we're going to try pinpointing them. And what we will do is we will be back into here in Cache La Poudre with folks trying to reach out as we believe we have those areas, and that's the best way to notify. The reason that we don't have the press in here, you need to hear from us first when we learn this stuff. 2 more. Yes, sir.
So can you say anything about how long we should make arrangements for sleeping elsewhere?
Several days at least right now. And I don't say that to try to scare you, but I just don't want to make any promises the way this thing, and as Chief Dement mentioned, Dirty Fire, there's a lot burning back and forth in there. It just has so much potential. I'd rather you planned a little further out and were pleasantly surprised that you were able to go back earlier. And ma'am, yours is going to be the last one, if you would.
The weather forecast, the wind's blowing south now, is that?
I'll let Tom.
I talked, we have a fire behavior analyst that works for, they're people that look at topography, the fuel type, and the weather, and combine it all together and try to tell us what the fire's going to do that day. I talked to Kelly this morning, and he said that we were supposed to have winds sustained at 15 to 20 with gusts of 40 out of the northwest until evening. In the evening, the winds are supposed to calm. Now, we moved right back into, today we have a little spring-like day with high winds and cool temperatures. Tomorrow we go back into summer. So we expect maybe our west-southwest flow, where it's going to go in all that dirty area inside the fire, we don't know. But we don't have, another thing that's common with front-range fires is usually it burns for 2 or 3 days, and here comes a cold front that brings with it some moisture. We don't see that in the outlook. So that makes that stay that you were asking about, go ahead and plan for a few days, because we don't see any relief in sight with the weather, and this thing is spread out over a lot more than what's there. So to get a line around all that, it's going to take a while.
Again, we'll be back at 4:30 this afternoon. We will continue to feed information into this center throughout the day, so you can count on getting the closest information here. But I will be back at 4:30, and also, if you care to go up to CLP, we do the same thing up there at 3 o'clock. At this point, Tom and I need to get back to the fire and get a better